Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm sure we'll have some people tuning in along the way, but I'd like to thank everybody so far for tuning in this afternoon, and hopefully we'll meet again in August. I'd like to start by thanking our year-long partners. We have First National Bank of Texas, Ronnie Cunhas. We have Intex Electric, Greg Pascal, and we have K&S Heating and Air Conditioning is Dave McCord. Their sponsorship helps sponsor all these programs that we do, and we appreciate everything that they do for us and the association. Before we begin our webinar, please know that we're recording this and we'll make it available on the Dallas VA YouTube channel and Facebook. Also, the speaker will be taking questions to answer at the end of the program, so please use the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen to submit questions. And at this time, I'd like to introduce our keynote speaker, the Director of Economic Development for the City of Rowlett, Jim Grabenhorst. And Jim, go ahead and take it away and start the presentation.
All right, thanks, Tom, and thanks everyone for having us speak at your webinar today. Again, as Tom mentioned, I'm Jim Grabenhorst. I'm the Director of Economic Development for the City of Rowlett, and happy to be here today to give you an update on several of the economic development projects that are happening throughout the city, and specifically our Sapphire Bay Project that you'll learn quite a bit about this afternoon. So Misty, if you can go ahead and advance the slide. So Rowlett, our focus has been from an economic development perspective on diversifying our tax base. Rowlett's history has been primarily a bedroom community over the years, and in 2011, City Council and the community adopted our Realize Rowlett 2020 comprehensive plan with a focus on becoming a community with diverse choices for living, working, playing, and learning. And I'm going to talk through some of the key project areas that we have been working on since that adoption back in 2011. And obviously we are today in 2020, and we'll cover some of the successes that we've had, and as we continue to try to grow the city and diversify our tax base. Next slide. And so I wanted to start out with just kind of a big picture overall of kind of our commercial base in Rowlett. And so this slide was stats as of the end of 2019. As you can see, our office inventory, a little over 500,000 square feet. We referenced some of the vacancy that we have, and then absorption net absorption of the particular spaces, as well as what type of construction activity we have in these various categories. Industrial, we have a little over 1.5 million square feet. You can see the vacancy rate is 2.3%, and so we are always looking for active development partners to develop additional space in Rowlett, as that's one of our challenges. We have a lot of small to medium-sized businesses that start in Rowlett, grow successfully, and then we need the ability to continue to expand and grow with them. And so we're always looking for opportunities for additional industrial development space throughout the city. Retail, we have about 2.3 million square feet. Again, very low vacancy, about 4.1%. Obviously, with everything happening in COVID in 2020, it'll be interesting to see some comparisons at the end of 2020 as we work with all of our retail businesses and trying to navigate through the challenges that they're facing on the COVID front. And then multifamily in Rowlett, a little over 2,600 inventory units in inventory. That vacancy number at the end of the year, we had just had a large project, the mansions at Bayside come online, and some of the mansion product at Signature Gateway, which is along PGBT as you come across from I-30. And so that's why you see a higher vacancy rate. Historically, we've been averaging around 9 to 10% vacancy on our multifamily units. As you can see, we absorbed over 1,100 units in 2019 and have about another 1,000 units under construction. Next slide, Misty. So the project I wanted to spend a significant amount of my time this afternoon on is our Sapphire Bay Project. This is a $1 billion investment in our community. The city has been actively working toward the development of this roughly 130 acre, 120 acre site along Interstate 30 and surrounded by Lake Ray Hubbard on 3 sides. And so we have our development partner, Sapphire Bay Land Development. This is a visual representation of their master plan. It is centered around a Crystal Lagoon with an island entertainment feature, as well as a surf and beach club. We have a conference center and resort planned. Right now the plan is for a 500 room resort and about an 80,000 square foot conference center facility. You'll see the marina area to the kind of the top left-hand side of the image. That's 1,005 boat slips that the marina will have. They are just starting their expansion and renovation at the marina. Next to them, you'll see some tall condo towers. Those are planned to be about 300 condo tower units wrapped by townhomes along the lower level. Across from the resort, you'll see 2 mixed-use buildings that will have office on the upper floors, as well as retail, entertainment, and restaurants on the ground floors and around the promenade of the Crystal Lagoon area. And then next to the surf and beach club area, the wave pool that you see there, we have additional office and boutique hotel planned. And then we have about 1,260 multifamily units planned in 4 different buildings throughout the site. Next slide, Misty. This gives you a little bit different image, looking from a different perspective. Again, you can see the 2 mixed-use buildings with office on the upper floors and the retail and restaurants on the lower floors. You can get a good perspective of the surf and beach club and the wave pool. This will be a competition pool that is planned to host national and international competitions. Surfing is going to be part of the Olympics, and so we anticipate having trials and events that are tied to future Olympic Games also being hosted here at the Surf and Beach Club here at the Sapphire Bay complex. Next slide, Misty. This is an image of the Sapphire Bay Resort and Conference Center. Right now, as I mentioned, it's planned for about 500 rooms, 10 stories in height, and then you can see the dome on top, I think goes up to about 14 stories overall. Again, we're really excited about this. Obviously, with the timing with the COVID and some question about what the future of hotel and meetings looks like. The timing of getting this open is 2023. So we think we will be well beyond, or hopefully well beyond, any of the impacts from COVID with a vaccine in place, and really starting to see a resurgence from business activity and meeting activity that has been impacted so far here in 2020. Next slide. This is the master plan from a land plan standpoint. And so at the top of the screen is Interstate 30, a little difficult to see, but that's Interstate 30 running there. Main entrance coming into the site, have a kind of a central park green space as you come in. You'll see some entertainment uses, commercial uses along Interstate 30 there. We anticipate having some limited service hotels that have been interested in the site as well. As you come into the site next to that central green, those are the two multifamily buildings. And then as you advance further into the site, closest to the Crystal Lagoon, you see the two mixed use buildings with office, retail, and restaurants. You can see the where the lagoon and the Surf and Beach Club sit, and then the resort and conference center that fronts on the other side of the lagoon, fronts on the lagoon on one side, and then the lake on the bottom of the screen. The condo tower is on your right-hand side, kind of next to where the marina area is at. And then on the far bottom left-hand side is the additional two multifamily buildings that are proposed, as well as some townhome units that are planned to front on the lake as well. So overall, what you're looking at there is 1.4 million square feet being planned for commercial uses, about 360 townhomes, 1,260 multifamily units, and as I mentioned, a little over 1,000. The marina will have 1,005 boat slips. And so total investment, a little over $1 billion, about 1.1 billion anticipated at build out. We anticipate build out will take an 8 to 10 year time period. And we will show you some videos of some of the infrastructure work that's going on right now. But the first phase of development for Sapphire Bay will be the Crystal Lagoon area, the Island Entertainment, the Surf and Beach Club, the Resort and Conference Center, and the mixed use buildings. So that's all planned for the first phase of development. We anticipate, based on the interest that we've had from some of the townhome and multifamily developers, that those will come online fairly quickly, and starting to see interest in the condo units as well. And so we'll see how quickly they get reservations for those to start that. So again, we're anticipating 8 to 10 year build out, but you will see quite a bit of vertical construction happening simultaneously in that first phase. Next slide. So a lot of folks asked about the Surf and Beach Club and the surf pool that's being built. This just is kind of a representation of the surf area. There'll be two distinct zones, one for all the advanced and competition type surfing that will go on there, which is closest to where the wave action is generated. And then they'll have a beginner zone that you can get in. Misty, if you can go to the next slide. This also gives you kind of that representation. The area, again, at the top left-hand corner is where the advanced zone is at, the bigger waves. And then you can see the area outlined in green is kind of where the beginners zone will be at. And then you'll still also have an area where you'll have beachfront and area that you can get into the water, even if you don't want to participate in any surfing type activities. Next slide. So this is a drone image, and Misty will go ahead and start it. This was from November of 2019 when they broke ground on the site. And so we'll let that play. You can see there that they're starting to see the outline of the lagoon and the island entertainment area. We're also working there on starting to dig the beach surf and beach club area there where the excavators are moving. That's looking north back at Interstate 30. And to give you a perspective on the amount of dirt work that has gone on the site, in order to get above the flood restriction area for Lake Ray Hubbard, the overall site had to be raised anywhere from 4 to 6 feet across 120 acres. So significant amount of grading work and earthwork. And that was part of the genesis for looking for a water feature to be kind of the anchor to this, and how the city and the developer initially partnered with Crystal Lagoons and in order to be able to generate the amount of dirt that was going to be needed to elevate the site out of the flood restriction area for Lake Ray Hubbard. So the initial grading, as I mentioned, started in November of 2019, completed around January timeframe for the mass grading. We're going to move to the next slide and take a look at the site. This drone footage was just shot about a week ago. And so what you can see here is they're starting to get the shape, the outlines of the spine road system, significant amount of infrastructure, all the things that nobody sees, all the water and sewer lines, all the storm sewer, drainage issues that have to be dealt with, and making sure that the protections are in place for the drinking water for Lake Ray Hubbard for City of Dallas residents. That's an image of the outline of the Crystal Lagoon with the island entertainment area. And that is all rainwater. Since we had a somewhat wet spring this year, that is all rainwater that will all get pumped out is when they get started on building the actual liners and edges for the Crystal Lagoon. And that's the Surf and Beach Club wave pool area. I'll tell you, one of the infrastructure items that had to be accomplished was boring under Interstate 30 to get the water and sewer stubbed into this area. This is the final shot here looking from the north back to the south to give you a perspective of how big the water features are going to be with the Crystal Lagoon and the Surf and Beach Club. Next slide, Misty. Moving on from Sapphire Bay, north of Interstate 30 is Bayside, and so we can go to the next slide. Give you a quick update there. The Western Rim that develops the mansions projects, they have completed their multifamily development and are in leasing stages right now, right up against Interstate 30 there. Home 2 Suites is a limited service hotel that's under construction. Beezer Homes is, if you've driven into the Bayside area, they are in the middle of putting the infrastructure in for townhome product that they're doing. And then KHOV and Meritage are finishing out. Meritage, I believe, is nearly done with their lots that they have in Bayside, and KHOV I think is just taking down their last stage of residential lots that they are finishing out. The developers of Bayside have a couple sites available for sale that they are marketing with CBRE, and so they're marked there on the site. They have the remaining phase 2 residential lots that they are marketing for sale right now. They have a additional townhome or multifamily site between where Beazer Homes is developing and the Western Rim site. And then they have about 10 acres at the front corner of Dalrock and Interstate 30 that they're marketing for commercial area. And so again, very, very active activity that's happening on north of Interstate 30 on the Bayside site as well. Next slide. And before I jump into the I-30 enhancements, one thing I did want to mention, Meritage Homes, the average sale price that we've been seeing there is about $325, and KHA's average sale price has been about $415 on the homes that were built in phase 1, the single family homes there in Bayside. So this Interstate 30, obviously, prior to Bayside and Sapphire Bay and Rowlett, I think we've all experienced, if you live on the east side of DFW and have to travel into Rockwall or Hunt County, have experienced some of the traffic issues along Interstate 30 prior to the development. But obviously with a $1 billion project and significant amount of tourism with a goal for Sapphire Bay, that Interstate 30 needs to be enhanced to accommodate just not only the growth of DFW, but the growth that's happening here in Rowlett and further east. And so this gives you a representation of the improvements that are getting ready to get started. There'll be some main lane widening improvements that are shown in green from Bass Pro Drive to Bayside, Sapphire Bay, and Dalrock as part of the first phase, and new bridge structures that will be built that are the dash lines in red, as well as reconstructing the Dalrock, we call it the Dalrock flyover, the access to Dalrock Road, and a brand new overpass, which is going to be Sapphire Bay Boulevard. If you want to go to the next slide, Misty. And so this slide just gives you a little bit better representation of the improvements at Bayside and Sapphire Bay. Anything in red on the top image is going to be an elevated structure. Anything in the purple or blue is either at grade or below grade. And then the green imagery is areas that are ramping up or down to access those particular areas. We do have a video that shows kind of a flyover that TxDOT produced for this. So Misty, if we can start that. This will give you a flyover perspective, basically from Bass Pro, where we start there, all the way through Rockwall County. This is coming up on Bayside Sapphire Bay, the new overpass, as well as the flyover onto Dalrock there. We're crossing the other half of Lake Ray Hubbard. There will be a pedestrian hike and bike trail in addition to 3 additional travel lanes on the new bridge structures going across the lake. We'll have to ramp up and over the existing rail line that runs along Interstate 30, and that's why you can see on the northern edge why the new ramps are further to the north there. This is coming up on Horizon in Rockwall. Frontage roads will be one way in each direction, so And some of the off ramps and on ramps will be reconfigured, so that will rely on folks to get used to some new traffic patterns and getting on and off the highway at different points in order to accommodate all these improvements. Just going through Rockwall, coming up on 205 should be the next interchange that we're going to see. Coming up on John King Boulevard here. And so this entire, it's roughly 17 miles worth of improvements to the interstate and the outer road system. Little over $600 million project, transportation project that the regional consortium of cities all lobbied very hard to get. Happy to report that the funding has been identified by TxDOT for this entire section of improvements. The phase one piece is going to be built, the Bass Pro to Dow Rock. That project alone is about $130 million. And from a timing perspective, the 60% design plans were completed in September of 2019. TxDOT has acquired all the right-of-way needed for that first phase between Bass Pro and Dow Rock. They completed that in March of this year. All the various utility companies are now working to clear any conflicts in that TxDOT right-of-way. That has to be completed by December of this year. TxDOT plans to let or award the contract for construction on the first phase in March of 2021. And we should see visible construction activity happening on the site by June of 2021. So a year from now, there'll be active construction going with that first phase of construction coming from Bass Pro, building the new bridge structures across the lake, as well as the new Sapphire Bay Boulevard overpass and Dow Rock interchange. And as this video finishes up, that first phase is projected to be complete sometime in 2023. So it's about a 24 to 30 month construction project for that first phase. Next slide, Misty. So move on to a couple other areas that are key to development in Rowlett, our North Shore district. And if you want to advance the slide. And so our North Shore is our single largest undeveloped land area that Rowlett has remaining. It's along PGBT. If you're familiar with where Liberty Grove Road is at, Merritt Road, it's basically that whole land area. We have a video that we're going to run here. If you can advance to that, Misty. This is part of a video that we have on our marketing efforts that we share with site selectors, developers, and brokers on educating them where our North Shore district is at and the potential for development there. Again, you can see the major highway system, Interstate 30 and PGBT, and the outlined area in blue is our North Shore district. The zone for job creation, target industries include corporate office, flex office type environment, some mixed use areas. This is where our flex industrial and advanced manufacturing, we have up to 350 acres there along PGBT at the Merritt Road interchange for development. And then we also have identified a area for medical or education, higher education. Garland Independent School District does own a 90-acre site in that area, and so the potential partnership with Garland Independent School District and higher education is something that we're very excited about. And so as you can see, nearly 1,000 acres that is infrastructure is in place for future development. A little bit about North Shore. We created our planning initiative back in 2013, have the entitlements in place from a zoning perspective to accommodate a mix of uses, as I mentioned, commercial from corporate office to flex office to advanced manufacturing space, institutional space, whether it's medical or higher education. Also have the ability to mix of residential, so live, work, and play concept to integrate in certain areas. And as I mentioned, it represents nearly 40% of the undeveloped land that we have remaining in Rowlett. Next slide. And then one of our other key development areas is our Village of Rowlett in our downtown area. Next slide. And so our Catalyst project, Village of Rowlett mixed use development, been very successful, about 250 residential units, commercial on the ground floor. We have our library housed in a portion of that ground floor commercial area, which draws a lot of visitors and users to the downtown area. We have some really unique destination restaurants, Book Club Cafe, Baracco's Latin Cuisine just opened in our downtown area. Bankhead Brewery, which has been another catalyst project for us that draws a tremendous amount of folks. We had Redemption Barbershop. They just relocated out of our downtown area due to some of the issues with COVID. And so continue to look for those unique retail restaurant opportunities. Lexi's Boutique is another one, Girlfriend's Boutique. We have a Main Street Cigar Shop is another great user. So those are the types of uses that we are looking for. Modern Well, another coffee shop that we have downtown. So those are the types of unique destination retail and restaurant users that we continue to market our Village of Rowlett downtown for. Next slide. In addition, we have some development and redevelopment areas within the Village of Rowlett. This is an image, the developers are identified this as, they're calling it Downtown East. So this fronts on PGBT, the Turnpike, and Main Street from our downtown area. It's between PGBT and our Hereford Park. It's about a 55-acre site that is set up for mixed use multifamily that will probably front on Hereford Park and commercial uses that would front on PGBT. And so we've had conversations with some hotel groups for limited service hotels, some office uses, as well as some retail restaurant uses that would front on this area. This is one of the front doors to our downtown Main Street project. Our last phase of widening is nearing completion and should be open here hopefully in the next 30 days as an additional front door to our Village of Rowlett downtown. Next slide. This is an image of the multifamily developer that has approached the city about the first phase of development. Would be a little over 300 units that would front on Main Street and Hereford Park as part of the Downtown East project. And then you can start to see some of the planning that they've done for some of the commercial buildings that would, at the bottom of the screen, for that would front on PGBT. Next slide. And then Lakeview Parkway, which is our primary commercial corridor historically along in Rowlett. Next slide. Just a couple key projects there. Lake Point, some of you may remember it as Lake Point Hospital. They now Baylor Scott and part of the Baylor Scott and White system. And so they just completed in 2019 a major expansion at the hospital. It was about a $35 million expansion. The bottom right-hand image is the expansion area. It's about 70,000 square feet addition, 32 additional hospital beds, neonatal intensive care unit, and well baby nursery area. And as I mentioned, they opened in 2019, and they're actually working now on some of the renovation of the existing structure that was there. But great addition and great asset to the Rowlett community. Next slide. And then finally, just one of our retail areas. Again, this is in our Village of Rowlett downtown on the corner of Lakeview Parkway and PGBT frontage. Panera Bread is now open. A couple of mixed-use buildings there with several retail tenants, and then one additional pad site that is available. I will tell you, we did have a 24-hour fitness project under construction next to Sprouts. That has been put on hold as part of the COVID concern. 24-hour fitness recently filed for bankruptcy, and so we'll see how that plays out. But those are some of the impacts that all cities are dealing with as we navigate through some of the retail disruption that is happening as a result of COVID. But overall, from Rowlett's perspective, I think I was sharing with Tom earlier, got asked the question about how is sales tax from Rowlett. We saw a reduction of about 4.5% year over year in March numbers. We just got our April numbers, and Rowlett was actually up 0.6% year over year in April of 2020 compared to April of 2019. So overall, we know there's been impacts out there in all of our retail sectors. But overall, right now, it's been minimal from a sales tax perspective that's reported for the months of March and April so far. Next slide, which I believe is the last slide. And so again, I want to thank you all for the opportunity to present this afternoon. Rowlett's community transformation is underway with over $1.5 billion in planned investments, and be happy to open it up and try to answer any questions that any of our attendees may have today.
Okay, Jim, it looks like the first question is, how about parking? Is that a big issue at the harbor?
So obviously, I think folks are familiar with the harbor in Rockwall, and parking has been an issue. So in Sapphire Bay, what you're going to see is a significant number of parking structures that will be incorporated. So both the resort, the hotel resort, and the conference center area will have structured parking. One of the things that we're looking at is the potential to do the structured parking in phases. The mixed-use buildings, the 2 office buildings, as well as the retail and entertainment areas will also have structured parking. And if you look back at some of the imagery, what you'll see is typically the bottom 2 to 3 or maybe even 4 floors will have structured parking. There'll be the retail buildings that'll front on the parking structures, and the parking structures will be embedded within those retail buildings. So that's how we plan on dealing with parking. Is we realize the potential for the amount of tourism and users that will be coming to the site, and so we have built in parking structures to alleviate any of those concerns.
Okay, the next question is, will there be any lots for custom home builders?
So in the Sapphire Bay Project, there will not be any lots for custom home builders. Those are all focused on townhomes, multifamily, and condos. We do have throughout the city, what I'll say is there's several smaller, what I'll call infill type parcels that I think would be well positioned for custom home builders if they wanted to come look at some of those smaller opportunities in Rowlett. I think there would be areas for custom home builders to come in, whether it's 1 or 2 lots at a time or find a smaller tract and develop multiple custom lots. I think there are some opportunities there as well.
Okay, well, that looks like the last question we had.
Jim, thanks very much for this presentation. It really, I know everybody's been, wanting to know about Sapphire Bay, how that was going. I think that addition to I-30, that's going to be a welcomed thing to happen because, as you said, if you drive on I-30 in the morning, afternoon, you get the chance to understand how that works. So, thanks for doing that. Thank everybody for coming this afternoon. Again, quickly, I want to thank our year-long partners one more time: First National Bank, Intex Electric, and K&S Heating and Air. And just stay tuned for the next program we're going to have. Not sure if it's going to be live or it's going to be on the internet, but we'll figure that one out for you and let you know. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. See you later. Bye.
Great. Thanks, everyone.